Cody, it's taken us weeks to get to this subject matter with Ron Magill. I have failed. So go ahead and set up the question that we've had for him for weeks to get an answer that I'm not contaminating the jury pool on. Go ahead and just tell Ron Magill what your theory is, and let's see if we can get an answer from him that agrees with you.
Yeah, Ron, I don't know that this is quantifiable or can be proven or disproven, but I have a supposition that when horses are riding in a horse trailer on a highway going 60 miles an hour, that they enjoy the ride, that they not only tolerate it and it doesn't stress them, but that they enjoy it. My anecdotal evidence is sometimes the horse trailer allows you to see the head of the horse, and I always see a relaxed animal in there. I never sense any stress, any agitation. What's your thought on that?
Oh, it depends on the horse. I mean, it's just like people. Some people, are afraid to go on roller coasters. Some people love going on roller coasters. Horses generally that are used to being trailered know it's safe. And like a dog putting his face in the breeze with the air blowing through and, being kind of enriched by the surrounding environment, the changing environment, it's somewhat positively stimulating certainly for some horses. They tend to enjoy it. But I think other horses, would get panicked with it. I mean, it's, again, as individual as people, it's just the ability of a person to help train their horse to trust the trailer and understand there's no threat there.
Yeah, I'll take that as a win. Thank you, Ron.
Mm-hmm. By percentage, majority, minority of horses.
Tampering.
If you had to argue on one behalf or the other, which Aston answered. Aston answered is what you just said to me? The majority of horses enjoy that or don't enjoy that?
Well, I would say that if you went out to a herd of horses and tried to trailer them that had never been trailered before, the majority overwhelmingly would not like it. That being said, if you've got a horse that you have trained and you've gotten to trust a trailer, a horse that is moving all the time from, show to show or whatever, those horses can enjoy such a thing. Again, it's all the individual, all the type of training the animal's been given. Generally speaking, the horses you see on trailers that are calm, looking out the slats of the trailer, are pretty much enjoying or just very relaxed in the trailer. If a horse is not relaxed, you would know it. So when you see a horse relaxed that way, it's doing pretty well.
Ron, it sounds kind of like this is like humans that are afraid of flying, right? Like they're afraid of it because they've never done it before. But the more they fly, the more they get comfortable, the more they almost enjoy it. So it's almost like we should be putting all horses in trailers and driving them around, and then they'll all enjoy it, theoretically, correct?
Well, no, theoretically, because my wife's been flying for 50 years and she still hates it and can't stand it and is still very uncomfortable flying.
Lead a horse to water,
Yeah, exactly. It's all about the individual. There are certainly some horses that will never like to be in a trailer, and there are others that really do like it. When you train your dog, for instance, you'll use a sky kennel in your home to kind of house train your dog, right? The dog learns that, okay, this is my house kennel. This is where I find my security. There are dogs that actually love to sleep in their kennels as opposed to having the whole run of the house. That's where they find their security. You can do the same thing with a trailer with a horse, making the horse understand, listen, this is your safe space. You're going to be good in here and enjoy the scenery as we ride, enjoy the breeze in your face. There are other horses that are going to say, I don't believe you. I'm never going to believe you. And I'm going to be totally panicked the whole way. And those are horses that don't go in trailers.
Ron, there's this very popular guy on YouTube who does like manicures and pedicures for cows and horses, like with their hooves. I'm wondering if you've seen those videos and if that is a sort of thing that is common, that there's just people that for a living they treat wounded cow hooves and like spray them with salicylic acid and wrap them up all the time. Well,
hoof training and trimming and cleansing, that is very important, very popular. It's very important for their health. We do that here at the zoo with everything from giraffes to elephants. They get pedicures, manicures, whatever you want to call them. So that hoof care is very, very important. Horses, that's a profession. Being a good farrier, you have good farriers and you have bad farriers. If you don't treat those feet the right way, that can lead to a type of ailment that actually can create the animal to be lame and eventually actually lead to its death. So hoof care is very, very important. Now, this guy may be dressing up for YouTube, put a little polish on there, making it look a little foo-foo and this and that. But the core of the care is very important.
Ron, I've seen a thing called freeze branding as opposed to regular branding for horses and cattle and stuff like that. Is that new? And also, is that more humane than regular branding?
Listen, branding, whether it's freezing or heat, it's a painful process. But having said that, so is tattooing, and some people love that. So I don't know what to say in that matter. I mean, when people get tattoos, it's their choice. I think when you're branding an animal, it's certainly not its choice, and it doesn't understand what the branding's for. I'm not a big fan of branding. More than that, I prefer, maybe an ear tag, which is quick and boom and there. But branding, and I understand the reason for it. I understand out in big herds, out in big plains and stuff, it's much easier to identify property that way. I'm just not a fan of it. I've seen it happen. I've seen it done, and it's not pleasant by any stretch of the imagination.
Ron, one of the things about animal care that fascinates me is, and isn't talked about much, is animal dentistry. How big a part of your animal care is that at your zoo?
Huge. It's absolutely huge. And people who don't think dentistry is important for their dogs and their cats, you could be shaving, years off the life of your animal. Dental care is absolutely critical to the overall general health of an animal, any animal. Whenever we immobilize everything from tigers to zebras here, the zebras will float their teeth, much like you'll float. You take literally, it's like a file to float their teeth to make sure they're meeting properly, so the animal can masticate its food properly. Tigers and carnivores, we're constantly removing the tartar from them, and primates, things like that, because the same types of infections can take place in the mouths of these animals as can take place in people. And what happens to people who don't take care of their teeth? Dental care, that can lead to all kinds of secondary issues that can become really critical.
Do you believe that the horses enjoy horse racing?
That's a tough question. I do believe that horses will instinctively run against each other. I used to not race my horse, but I would ride my horse. And when I had friends of mine with their horses and we go out on a big airstrip, man, when those horses start running, I didn't have to go. I mean, I just let them go. And once the other one, they raced each other, and there seemed to be a challenge that way. Having said that, horse racing in and of itself, what goes beyond the closed doors of the barn and what they do with these horses, I'm just not a fan. I'm not a fan. I just think that
we didn't ask if you're a fan. We asked whether or not the horses
not personal
enjoy
opinion
it or not.
here. Yeah, exactly
right.
right. Sounds like some do.
Don't need your politics involved.
Wow.
What was your horse's name?
My horse's name was Tampico.
Tampico.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
All right.
That was my horse's name.
Let's have Greg ask that question, okay, and see if he gets a different response from Ron, because I believe he might.
How do you spell that? How do you spell that horse's name? What does that horse's name mean?
Tampico is a little town in Mexico where his parents were born.
Oh.
Okay.
Tampico.
Ron, I was making, you may not even know, I'm a fractional owner of a racehorse named Calmly. And there are good trainers and bad trainers. There are mistreated horses out there for sure. My racing syndicate, I think, has really high marks for horse care. I was making the argument that if you're a thoroughbred
A racing
racehorse,
syndicate, when I just think of a racing syndicate, I don't think of great care. Once you throw in the phrase syndicate,
Team Valor.
I just don't think of care.
And the way you said it is if you've had a lot of experience with other syndicates. You went to one syndicate. You've seen one syndicate.
well, I get an insider's bulletin twice a week that
Email, they don't put all the bad stuff they do.
that details all of the progress they're making in animal care and the way that they're at the head of the industry on that, believe it or don't. But my question to Ron is, I think a thoroughbred racehorse is well taken care of. I think these are some of the most cared for animals around. I don't think, they're mistreated. And I'm wondering if you agree with that or don't.
I don't think they're mistreated. Unfortunately, like you say, there are some areas where they can be. My big concern with thoroughbred horses is when they're no longer winning races and they can no longer race, what happens to them? And that's something that I think a lot of the, people who have investigated this have found things that have been not so happy, let's say.
Right.
My sister's horse, his name was Titan. He was a racing horse, and if my sister had not gotten that horse, he was on his way to the glue factory. That's something that bothered me. At the end of the day, Greg, I think the problem is, as it is with so many things, money. If this horse is making you money and he's producing for you, boy, you're not gonna hold back on investing to keep that money flowing.
Right.
But as soon as that stops, what happens to that horse? Now, again, I went to school at UF up in Gainesville. I was in Ocala quite a bit. That's horse country here in Florida. I saw people caring for retired horses there in incredible ways. Some of those like Ocala ranches and farms are phenomenal what they invest in their horses. So I don't want to paint with a broad brush here, but I just think when you start getting into the amount of money that's involved in these race horses, I would like to see that amount of money invested in them throughout their lives, and not just when they can produce for you.
That's fair.
Ron, we've talked about live mascots before, but I'm wondering if you saw what happened this past
That
weekend.
LSU. I cannot. Oh, sorry. I cannot believe
Ron!
Don't be sorry. Go ahead.
No,
Okay,
please. It made me very angry and sad also. So what was your reaction?
It's just I couldn't believe they did that again. I mean, this is like, God bless America. You know, they had stopped doing that because they finally listened to people saying, listen, you should not be putting a tiger in a cage in the middle of a football field with tens of thousands of people around it. It's just a horrific thought to do that. And they do this again. And I was sickened by it. To be honest with you, I was really ticked off to see that happen again. And I'm sure they're getting such a rash of crap right now that they won't do it again.
Can you explain to us, for those who do not understand, how it is that you might humanize a tiger, how disorienting that particular environment would be to something as finicky as, the feline kingdom?
This is a solitary animal that depends on elusiveness, on being able to stalk, being able to kind of be invisible. Okay. And now all of a sudden you're putting it in a cage where it has no escape to get away from anything, a tiny little cage surrounded by tens of thousands of people with all these bright lights and flashes and music and screaming and all that stuff. Look, let me just put this in perspective. Okay. Why don't you take a child and isolate that child, never having exposed them to this type of thing, and put them in a cage and have all these screaming people, all these lights and stuff going on, and think of what would happen. It's just not natural. It's the wrong thing to do, man. This urge we have to always set the bar for more likes and more clicks and more social media reaction is at the detriment of living things, and that shouldn't be. To me, I know this is going to rile some people, but social media to me is the toilet bowl of the internet. For whatever good it does, I can find 20 things that are worse that it does, and it saddens me. It really saddens me to see something like as majestic, as beautiful as a tiger subjected to that kind of exposure, that exploitation for the sake of wows at a football game.
I don't think that social media is responsible for putting that tiger on the field. And I'm with Chris Cote, who's been arguing all week that we should take Brian Kelly and just put him in the Serengeti and see how that goes. Just
in a cage.
In a cage, of course.
In a cage,
maybe
yes.
not.
Yeah.
Maybe even not, maybe not in a cage. He'd feel safer in a cage than not in a cage. I'd put him in not a cage and let him just wander around out there. I don't think people necessarily understand how skittish the tiger is, though, Ron. Like when you're talking about the lights and the music, the tiger, I think we assign strengths to the tiger that don't really understand its personality very well.
Exactly. You're exactly right. This tiger is stressed. I guarantee you he's stressed just because he's not, flailing against the bars and screaming. This is an internalized stress. I can promise you that tiger felt stress going out there and experiencing all of those, stimulations around it. That's just not natural for an animal like that. And it's, to me, it's inhumane.
I got to tell you, though, Ron, I'm shocked that your tiger take is what it is, but horses, no problem. 85 miles an hour down the highway,
Yep.
just
Greg's 2 for 2.
Just flying down the
No,
highway,
no,
thrilled to be doing it.
Wait a minute.
That's the way I heard it.
You're talking about a domestic animal that has been born and raised and acclimated to a certain situation for transport. Okay, you're not exploiting that animal. You're transporting it safely because you have trained it properly to go from point A to point B. You're not taking an animal against its will and putting it into a cage and exposing it to all kinds of stimulation that is nothing but stressful to that animal. I can guarantee you that if the horse was bucking and going crazy in the trailer, they would not have put it in the trailer and moved it out because it would have ended up killing itself. Okay. So these horses that you see trailered have been trained. Mm-hmm. There's a big distinction between a domestic animal and a wild animal. Okay.
They have beautiful
same thing to you when you put your dog in the car. A horse is a domestic animal. It's an animal that's been domesticated over hundreds, if not thousands of years. This is not the same as a tiger.
A beautiful horse blanket.
That's the thing about that. The horses travel with beautiful blankets on their back. Am I wrong, Ron?
They do. I don't know if that makes it any better for them traveling, but
Soothes them.
A blanket
Greg
makes
would know.
everything better.
Of course,
Come
you
on.
cuddle up with a blanket.
Yeah, Ron, what kind of fool are you? How do you not understand that a blanket makes everything better? See you later, Ron. Good talking to you. Fool. You
Slice of heaven,
fool.
guys. Slice of heaven, guys. Have a good week.
Chris, why are you obsessed with the Syracuse coach?
Oh my God! I'm so glad we got to this. As my dad is clacking away on his typewriter. Dad, we've started.
Greg,
we're
we
doing
started.
podcast.
We're doing show. We're doing show. Greg, you got to put your headset on.
Is
You got
this
to
the-
stop your clackety clacking.
Yeah. Is this the Syracuse football coach?
This is the Syracuse football coach, and they took a tough L this week.
They
and
did.
I'm just going to let this guy speak for himself, but I am mesmerized by this.
Honestly, I got like a ritual. Like when we lose, I ain't even getting a shower till early this morning. I just be mad. I just brush my teeth. But it's like I don't deserve soap. I don't deserve to do all that. I'm just focused on like trying to get back and trying to make sure that our players mentally understand and know that I let them down, that they didn't do it. There's a process that I follow every week. Win, lose, or draw. Only thing is like my wife, I can't sleep in the bed if we lose because I ain't gonna get in the shower for that day. I'm just mad and I just sit there. I just brush my teeth. That's what I have to do so y'all won't say my breath stink. But I'm just kind of locked in at certain things, certain ways. I think you gotta earn the right to do certain things. So, winners get washed. You know what I'm saying? I'm a loser. I just kind of waited a little bit.
I'm just confused on the distinction where win or lose, your teeth get cleaned, but your body, like to me, it would just be like one thing. Like after a loss, I don't wash anything, or like he's just like my knees, my back, no soap for me. But I need toothpaste. Obviously, I need toothpaste.
Seems willy-nilly. I mean,
I don't think so. I think it's principled, and I think he's being a nice man by protecting us from his breath. The rest of him is not likely to stink the way that his breath would stink unbrushed. Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at LeBatard Show. Do you have to earn your soap at LeBatard Show?
That's insane to me. Winners get washed is what the logo, the motto he's trying to go with is like a coffee is for closers thing. No, washing is not for you. It's for others. You are around other people. Wash yourself, man.
All right, put that on the poll as well, Juju, at LeBatard Show. Washing for you or for others? Because I don't feel like I'm washing for others, but he was definitely brushing his teeth for others.
But he said he can't sleep in the bed with his wife because he stinks. You're washing for her, not for you.
What happens if they lose their bowl game? I mean, this is not going to be pretty. That's a long off season.
I've never heard of the phrase having to earn the right to take a shower. I've never heard of that before.
You like it, though, huh?
He has invented that, and I give him credit for it.
Right.
Fran Brown is his name, incidentally, because I
Thank
feel
you.
like we're all talking around that for some reason.
We know his name. Florida Georgia coach.
Does a shower in the pool count here? Like,
Yes.
Can you do that after a
No,
loss?
that
Oh,
doesn't
100%.
count. That does not
Yeah.
count.
It always
That
counts.
does
Oh,
not
yeah.
count.
Oh, yeah, babe.
I have not heard of Izzy's theory there of cleaning for others. I don't believe that is something that one does. I clean for myself to remain clean, not for others. It's not because I don't want to stink for others. It's because I don't want to stink for myself.
So when you give yourself a little whiff, you're not worried about other people smelling it. It's just you.
I'm also worried about other people smelling it, but I don't want to smell myself smelling bad. It's not because I'm trying to protect anybody from anything.
I think body is for others, hair is for yourself.
Because everyone likes their own brand.
They're both for both.
Even when I smell bad, I'm like, that's not terrible.
Not my hair.
Also,
I don't like washing my hair.
I said Florida Georgia coach. I meant to say former Georgia coach.
Yeah, that was
Thank
weird.
you.
I just
I knew what you meant,
Florida
yeah.
That
slipped
cleared it
out.
up, yeah.
I started thinking of an F word, and the first one was Florida, which is what I've been thinking for the last week. So that was a verbal typo,
My hair looks better when it's dirty, honestly.
according to whom?
I've never seen your hair.
Ever?
No, you always wear a baseball cap. I imagine
Oh.
you shower with a baseball cap. Like I never see
No.
your hair. You never come in here without a baseball cap. You never work a work day without a baseball cap, do you?
Yeah, sometimes. Every now and then.
I like your hat
Occasionally.
today, by the way.
Thank you. I got it for Arizona, the trip we just came on when I was part of the Bird Gang. How did I do in fantasy this week? Great question, Jess. Listener League, not a good week for me. Finished in the low 400s again. If you want, you can compete against us. Join GFBs, GBFs. weekly fantasy football contest. DKNG.co/Smirnoff, presented by Smirnoff, the world's #1 vodka. Please drink responsibly. $3, that's all it takes to kind of join, and you can win a lot more than that if you're, at the top. I was not, again, 400th place. But, yeah, I know how I feel about this string across the top of the hat.
It's been controversial.
They're
I've heard a lot of people really, really hate it, but I think it's kind of neat. I don't know. It's not bad.
It looks like piping on really old curtains. I don't think it looks modern.
It's in, though. String along the brim
I
of
like
the
the
hat.
added texture. I don't think it's that bad. But people have really hated the hats this year.
I didn't know that it had this on it when I purchased it. I got it on Fanatics, and I got it because I didn't want to spend a ton of money right beforehand, because that's what I did in Chicago. So I said, you know what, I'm going to go Fanatics. There's always a sale on Fanatics. So you pay full price, you're a fool. Always a promo code. So I had it ordered to my house. I did it a week and a half beforehand. It got there, Dan, I know you're wondering, 25 minutes before I left for the airport, a week and a half later. Almost missed it.
I can show you how to ramp it if you want, Billy.
Really? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Let's
It's very
do that.
easy to expense.
Okay.
Have you guys seen the hats that are like the upside down letters? They're very popular right now, and I think they're very cool, and I want to buy one, but I have a feeling that in like 3 months they're going to be so out.
It's kind of dumb. I'm not going to lie, Lucy. Like, I think it would look cool for a few weeks, and then we're going to just be like, why do we have our letters upside down
The
on
Florida
the hats again?
Panthers have one that like that. It says Panthers upside down.
What's the point of that?
Just
Exactly.
They look cool.
It's wacky.
Handstands, cartwheels, yeah,
Yeah,
I could read
they're
it.
aesthetic, but I can tell it's a trend and not, something
It's not going to last.
long-standing.
Upside down letters, they're not going to last, guys.
They're not.
I'm not the only person whose hair looks better when it's dirty.
Yeah, day 2. That's
Yeah.
my best look.
The
That's
day
what-
after
day
you
two's
wash
not
your hair, it
dirty.
looks better than the day you wash your hair. The day I wash my hair, if I put in conditioner, oof, it's a mess.
Don't they say you're not supposed to wash your hair for like 3 weeks?
Yeah,
like,
I
isn't
hate
that
they.
right?
Studies
They
say
don't
that.
Three
yes.
weeks.
Not,
Yeah.
That's not
look it
They
up.
accurate.
said that.
Jeans and hair. We don't know when to wash them.
That's not true. I don't know about
Some people
that.
never wash their jeans.
The pants or
I wash my jeans.
Some
I feel
people
like you should wash
Some
your
people have
jeans.
different rules about jeans.
Well, you're not supposed to wash them after every wear.
See,
No.
there we go.
That's
I
what
wear
we're
it for a
saying.
couple of weeks.
Right.
We can't agree. There's no this is
Yes.
the rules on this.
you know what? I don't know. Suits. Do you dry clean a suit every time you wear it?
You have to.
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
That's what you did.
Every time you wear it, you have to dry clean. It's a lot of dry cleaning, but like if I'm on a
Billy,
dance floor,
if you wore a suit into the office as a bit for like a 1 hour show,
Yeah.
I would not get that dry cleaned.
But if
you
you're
wore a
dancing the
suit
night away-
to a wedding, I would get that dry cleaned.
I have a dirty little secret.
Ooh.
Is
Yeah.
it your hair?
No. I washed it today. That's why you're not going to see it. I had a dirty little secret. I dry cleaned a suit the other day, and I had a 2-suit weekend, like a situation where I needed to wear a suit twice in the same weekend.
What a weekend.
It was something, and then I had a decision to make. Do I wear 2 different suits, or dare I wear the same suit twice? Because there was only 2 people along with me. Well, I guess my children also, but 2 adults along with me that would know that I wore the same suit back-to-back days.
Who are
Changed the shirt, but I didn't wear a tie the second time.
Who are those adults? Like, are there people like
My
is it-
wife and my mother-in-law.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're fine.
So I was
Yeah,
trying to
same
figure out, I was going to wear a different suit the second day, and then I was like, do I jack it? Do I not jack it? That's a whole thing. When you're a guy, you don't
That's
know
enough.
if it...
Jeez.
Because here's the thing. First one, baptism. My daughter's baptism, have to wear a suit for that. I have to go
I
dress
knew
to the
one of
nines
these
for that.
was a baptism.
Yeah, my daughter's baptism. Had to do it for that. The other one, a quinceañera. So what do I do for a quinceañera? How do I go dress to
Do you
this
need a suit for
quinceañera?
that?
That was the question.
tie,
And then
no
I don't
tie.
know. Do I go suit jacket? Do I not? Because you don't want to be overdressed. You don't want to be underdressed. So I ended up going suit, no tie, shirt. And then I was wearing a very similar color scheme to the father of the daughter. And I was like, oh, I'm glad I didn't wear a tie because we would look like twinsies. Also, fun fact, ding dong, who's there? Jorge Soler at the quinces.
Wow.
Wow. How about
like
that?
like a paid appearance, or he just knew the people?
No, it's friends of the family.
I like
yeah.
the idea.
He was just there.
Jorge Soler in uniform, getting paid like $6,000 just to be there. Hello,
Didn't
everyone.
dance. Just kind of hanging out with kids,
Aw,
playing on
you
the phone.
should have asked him for a dance.
No. My daughter kept dancing with his wife and his daughter, and I was, can you please stop it? You're embarrassing me. We have
So you didn't
ask
talk
like
to
we
him?
don't know this hilarious. No, I didn't talk to him. What was I going to say?
Missed opportunity.
Ding
Hi,
dong.
Billy.
Then the next day he was traded to the Angels.
Huh.
Weird weekend.
These are all just things that happened. Facts, not connected, just all facts.
Why wouldn't you just talk to Jorge Soler?
He was
who-
with his family. I didn't want to bother
Right.
him. Why would I
But
bother him? He's
because-
playing with his kids.
Because you were a fan and are a fan.
I didn't
and
even know it was
are
him.
at
Someone
a-
told me.
At a wedding. You didn't know it was him?
No, I mean, how did you think I walk around with Jorge Soler's baseball card checking to see who?
wait a
I'm
minute.
guessing none of us would know.
Dan,
I'm
okay, hold on a
guessing.
second. If you entered a room and Jorge Soler was there, I don't think that you would know it was him
Billy,
right off the bat.
Billy, I watched the Marlins Marlins season when he hit 30 home runs. Yes,
Same.
I would.
No, I don't
what
think
are
so.
you talking about?
I don't think so.
In this
Okay.
scenario, I have him in a Braves uniform.
Okay.
So
Would
that's why I would recognize him.
Would you know Joey Wendell?
More difficult, but again, Soler hit 30. He was in the lineup every day for a year.
Yeah, but he wasn't wearing his Marlins jersey at this thing.
And he's
With a
played
number
for the
on
He
it.
didn't have his
Giants and the
number, his
Braves.
name on the
Like,
back of his
come
suit.
on.
I
Come
think
on.
you think it's easy until you have to do
Exactly
it.
right.
Right.
Thank
Man.
you.
Yeah,
Stugotz gets
context.
it.
Right.
Yeah.
But what if he went home and he was sad? No one recognized him, and that he was there, and like no one.
I'm with Billy though.
nobody
I always
Marlins
lean
fans.
against. Just leave him alone.
Yeah, he's there with his family.
My
They're
dad
playing on the
did.
phone, whatever.
Me and my dad a few weeks ago were at Hooters before bowling, as we
Wow.
do, and we saw a former Marlins player. I'm not going to say his name, and I was
Why?
like, I was just like,
He's protecting him
Why?
from
Who are you
Hooters.
protecting?
Hooters is not
He's
illegal,
protecting
Chris.
from Hooters like it's a
I'm
strip
just
club.
look. Every time I say names around here, everyone's like, oh, they didn't want. Like I'm
No,
trying to just
it's
be.
it's when you take pictures
Yes.
of Craig Minervini and he doesn't know you're doing it and you post them.
That well, dude, that was like 10 years ago. Relax.
Right.
But that's different, though.
But
So
my
name
dad,
names.
my
Name
dad, because I was like, ooh, there's that person. I'm not gonna go up to them. My dad was just like walked right up to him, like, hey, what's up, man? Good to see you.
course.
That's
Well,
good. Yeah.
He's a legend. He doesn't care.
It was Charles Johnson, the former catcher.
CJ.
And I have a relationship with him. We're not great friends, but I know enough to, schmooze with him
Yeah.
and make small talk.
It was
with
an
him.
awkward
Right.
conversation.
No,
It
it's
was-
polite.
That's how you build sources.
I bet you
I was
CJ
hoping
enjoyed it, right?
Yeah, I was hoping he'd buy me a beer. He never did. But I like him anyway.
Dan told us a story just last week that he saw Pudge and he asked him about his statue. Like, that's what you do when you see people. If anything, I was in the. Well, I don't have a relationship
You
with Jorge
avoided
Soler.
Soler.
I didn't
You-
avoid
you
him. I just didn't-
actively avoided
No.
Soler.
No,
He didn't know he
enjoyed
was
it.
there.
No,
Even
he
though
enjoyed
you're a
it.
fan, he did know he was there. He was told he was there.
I was told, yeah. Someone said, "Do you know Jorge Soler? He's a baseball player. He's over there." And I was like, "Yeah, he was on the Marlins." Like
Billy,
2 years
he was
ago.
at this party. No one recognized him or
Yeah.
said hi, and he probably texted his agent and said, "Get me out of this town. No one watches baseball here. They don't know who I am.
Yeah.
I need to go to a real baseball."
Well, he
town."
was in Atlanta last year. So.
Yeah, he's been traded like 3 times
Yeah,
since he left.
poor
the
guy.
Marlins.
Oh, really?
Now he's in Anaheim.
Yeah.
Then
Then there's no way you would have recognized
Where
him.
careers
Dan.
go to die.
Can I betray confidence here? My mother-in-law afterwards was like, he's probably a multi-millionaire, and I'm like, oh, I know. And then I looked him up. I'm like, yeah, 130 multi-millions. He's made so much money. Could you imagine making $130 million and then going to a quinceañera on 8th Street
How
on a
much
Sunday
do you think
night?
he paid the birthday girl?
I was wondering that too. You have to give a good gift,
like 10
right?
grand, right?
That's why
no
he was invited,
chance.
right?
No, I think that it was like cousins of the mother of the girl. Yeah.
Man, where can't that guy bat 220 and hit 30 home runs?
I am legitimately surprised that Billy would watch as many Marlins games as he does and not recognize one of their best players.
I don't go up and just bother people also. Like, that's another thing. Why would I do? And also, like, why would I just assume if someone looks like Jorge Soler, they're Jorge Soler at a family member's quinceañera? There's no connection there in my mind. Why would I think that? Like, if Tom Cruise was there, I'd just be like, hey, you're Tom Cruise. You definitely belong here. No, you never think to say
Penelope
hello
Cruz, maybe, but not Tom Cruise. But Jorge Soler, absolutely. I mean, he's Hispanic. He played in Miami. He's got relatives. He can go to a quinceañera, sure.
I saw, I think it was, now this is weird. I think it was like, who was it? It was Gurriel. Did he play for the Marlins too? I think I saw Gurriel. Was he on the Marlins?
Yes.
Yeah. So I saw him when I was driving to work one day coming out of his house. It was one of those days that Waze puts you and takes you like on all these weird back roads. And then I was looking and I was like, wow, that's a green Lamborghini truck. That seems like a weird fit for this house. And then I saw the person coming out and getting their mail and it was him. And I was like, you live there. Cool.
You recognized him immediately.
I did, yeah, because he had a hairstyle that you would remember, and he has a green Lamborghini, so like you see it and you're like, okay, who has a green Lamborghini?
How is the group
That's who
about?
has a green Lamborghini.
Me or him? Yeah.
I don't think
I
so.
almost hit Josh from the challenge with my car the other day. I
What?
think. Yeah, driving down the street.
My friend almost hit Bruno Mars with her car.
What?
Really?
Yeah, that was crazy. He was not happy about it.
Yeah. Sorry, Dan.
How is the group about approaching people that they know or don't know in public who are famous and they admire? Because I would think that this group would have a number of different responses to that kind of situation. I imagine Stugotz in all of those situations being shamelessly aggressive about asking for things.
How hammered am I?
I'm sober and I'm totally fine with it. So I don't care. I'll approach anyone and talk about anything. It's, small talk. You got to work your way into the conversation, and then suddenly you become friends, and the next thing you know, he's on the show. I mean, that's how I do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm the opposite. I'm shy enough where I'm not going to introduce myself to someone. And
Right.
say, hey, so-and-so, I love your work, or, blah, blah, blah. If I haven't met the person previously, I do not go up to them.
One
Really?
time, Dan, I was sitting on a plane next to Stanley Tucci. Wow. And
Really?
Yeah, the
That
Tucci.
is big.
Yeah.
Stanley Tucci.
Yeah. And I said to myself before I fell asleep, I had the window, and I was like, wow, Devil Wears Prada, I got to say something to him, but not now because it's weird. There's a 3-hour flight, so I just go to sleep. And as I'm waking up, getting off the plane, hey, Tooch, love you in Devil Wears Prada. And then we move on.
Oh, I love him so much.
That's the way to do it. You either don't say anything or you're just like real quick, like appreciate your work and walk away.
But I've had this before where it's like I'm sitting at like a dinner, like I'm at dinner with someone, and at the very end, they're like, hey, big fan of the show. That's almost creepier. It's like,
Did they
oh,
listen
so
to me?
You've been sitting here the whole time. Like, I'd rather you do it on the front end, if I'm being honest. Just like, Tooch, big fan of your work. I'm going to go to sleep now. Like, doing it at the end,
because then
it's
he's
just, it makes me...
uneasy the whole flight, Chris. He's wondering, is he going to continue to talk to me? Is he looking
he?
up my IMDb
Yeah, but
right now?
Tucci is sitting there at the end of the flight saying, was that guy thinking about
Thank
me
you.
the entire
Is he?
flight?
He thinks that you were looking at him the whole flight. Like, oh, man, I'm sitting next to Stanley Tucci.
He definitely, famous people notice when you glance at them and recognize them, even if you think you didn't, even if you think you did it slyly. He knows that you knew.
So you're saying I should have said something early?
Earlier
I
or
wouldn't
not at
because
all?
I thought like I could win him over as a friend. So that's a different conversation.
The thing that I don't think you guys are allowing for, and the only reason that I'm saying this is because it's happened to me one time that I could remember. I'm in the Louvre, and I'm looking at Jason Lee, and I'm looking at him with the same look that he's looking at me, which is, I'm like, is that Jason Lee? And
Look at
he
me, Louvie.
seems to be like, is that Dan Le Batard?
Wow.
Because some of you are actually known. There is the possibility that Billy can run into Jorge Soler and that Soler. Now, Soler is not a
0%
he's not a great
possibility.
example.
Blair
because
was not sitting there thinking, who is that?
Yeah, I know. Is Billy going to come say hi to me?
It's happened. It has happened to people on our show with middle relievers, with people in the bullpen who will look up in the stands and be like, I listened to your show. It has happened. And so I'm saying it can happen when you're looking at somebody, not sure if they are who you think they are, and they're looking at you, not sure if you are who they think they are.
Do you ever have people come up to you and they ask if you're who you are and you say no? I had someone come up to me and be like, are you Lucy? And then he was like, actually, Lucy's a lot taller than you are. And I was like, yeah, I'm not her, but I do get that all the time. And then he like kept talking to me about me, and he was like, yeah, she's like several inches taller than you are. And I said, yeah, I've never met her. I don't know. And then eventually someone came up and called me Lucy, and he was like, are you serious? And I was like, oh, yeah, gotcha.
That's probably a better
But he
experience.
said nice things about me, just that I was short.
I saw Terrell Suggs at the Louvre once.
Wow.
I took a picture with him, and
T-sizzle.
I was like, hey, and all my girlfriends, this was in college, all my girlfriends were like, who is that? And I was like, don't worry about it. We're taking a picture with Terrell Suggs. So we took a picture with him, and then I was like, by the way, I'm a Steelers fan. And he was like, screw you. And I was like, screw you. And it was the
It's like
greatest
the
moment
Louvre is the
of my
place to
life.
go. I
It
mean,
really is.
Where
I
is
saw the
this
Mona
place?
Lisa at the
Yeah.
Louvre.
I mean,
Put it on the poll, please, Juju. Is the Louvre the place to go?
So did Jason Lee come up to you? How did that story end?
No, we just sort of stared at each other and made that recognition
staring
very,
contest, huh?
very clearly. Yeah.
The
Did
story
anyone
was
blink?
different to
I
me
mean,
Magic
because I
moment.
thought you said the loop, and you were staring at each other in the bathroom. That
Totally
felt
different
different.
Remember
That's
when
what
that
I
guy
thought, too.
at Magic City said that Woody was taking a in the bathroom?
Well, he went and talked to him while he was doing that, which seems incredibly invasive. And that is not something I would do to anybody in the world. Although I do have a friend who was bragging one time about being, and this seemed like an awful story. It felt unpleasant, all of it. Being at a nightclub and having Jim Brown's hand come down under the partition and be like, can I have some toilet paper? There's no toilet paper over here. He knew he was sitting next to Jim Brown. Jim Brown was sitting next to him, and then Jim Brown's hand comes out.
That's a story right there.
that is awesome.
The hand
Say,
of Jim Brown.
I cannot spare a square. Dan, before the show ends today, I want you to be aware of something. A fan sent us 2 hats, one for you and one for me, from Incarnate Ward. the school in Texas that we talked about last week that you could not pronounce the name of, and they were like, someone else, I don't know if it was the same person, but they sent me a tweet and they were like, thanks for standing up for Incarnate Word, and I was like, I didn't say anything nice about Incarnate Word. I simply pronounced the name Incarnate Word correctly, so we got hats because of that.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for the contribution. I still can't pronounce it. Incarnate Ward is how I pronounced it.
No, that's a wide receiver.
Correct.
That is not correct. I got it wrong.
Heinz Ward.
There it is. Just a
Love
useless
Heinz
joke.
Ward.
Just useless. It's the Kornheiser humor. I'm telling you, there's an age, I think it might be 70, where all you've got in the tank on your humor is you just say another ward that is like the previous
Cam
word.
Ward.
That's correct. How about that? Did I do it right?
Well, you're supposed to say something after that.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, after the countdown.
What do I know?
Chris wanted you to start the segment there.
That's scary.
Yeah.
I don't think you want to trust me to start a segment.
Well, you seem like you were scared of it, so.
I was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like a horse in a trailer at 85 miles an hour. I'm terrified.
Right.
No, they're not. We
I know.
learned today.
Yes.
I know. I'm just kidding.
You were 2 for 2, but you're into this Jake Paul, Mike Tyson fight, aren't you?
You know, I am. And I'm not a big pay-per-view guy.
Right.
But I think I might fork up some money to watch this fight.
Well, luckily, if you have Netflix, I think you're good.
Oh, am I?
Yeah.
It's just on
perfect.
Netflix.
You're already paying for it.
Oh,
Yes.
there you go.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
I don't know. I had pay-per-view. What do I know?
It's very confusing. I'm with you.
It is confusing.
You're right. Yeah.
PPV.
Yeah.
I'm the world's biggest Mike Tyson fan until the fight's over. Then I don't really care. But I'm just not a big Jake Paul fan.
I think this is a classic Greg Cote in his, 70 years old, still thinking he can kick a 50-yard field goal. This is you thinking that Mike Tyson can still be the Mike Tyson of old. I think a lot of people are worried about Mike Tyson in this fight.
Okay. I get that.
That if he takes a blow from Jake Paul, that this could do some serious damage to an older man.
You think your dad is headed into it with the expectation that Mike Tyson is still going to be Mike Tyson?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think this. I think Mike Tyson has enough in a punch where if he lands one just right, it will hurt Jake Paul.
Oh, Jake Paul will be out.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
That's what I'm counting on. I'm not counting on stamina. I'm not counting on him being the Mike Tyson of old for 5 rounds. I'm counting on a quick finish, a quick strike and I know there's a big height advantage. I imagine there's a reach advantage as well for Jake Paul.
I'm curious what Tyson looks like after that first 2 minutes of he's going to come out, he's going to try to do his thing. Does he have his wind?
But I think what your dad is saying is Tyson has to get it done inside of 2 minutes or he's not going to get it done.
Pretty much.
What if this is just Mike Tyson and Jake Paul looking for a payday and they're going to play patty cake and everyone's going to be like, oh, this is not a real fight. This is clearly just them. And look at all of us suckers watching this fight and they're just dancing around the ring.
Right.
Because they are friends. I just find, I don't know, man. And as
I understand why your dad doesn't like Jake Paul. I think it's not that you don't like him. It seems like a boxing gimmick, the whole thing.
It does.
Yes.
It does.
Right.
No, I admit that. And what makes me suspicious is the idea that, all right, somebody's going to win. There's going to be a rematch. The other guy is going to win. And then there's going to be the big third fight where the winner takes
I don't
off.
think Tyson has multiple fights in him.
No?
He's got 2 minutes in him.
Yeah, this is.
I mean,
I don't know.
he looks good for his age.
He's only 58. He's not that old.
Right, but for that to play out, Tyson has to win the first one, I think, right?
I would
mean,
think
okay, so
Yes.
I just Googled what their paydays are supposed to be for this. The expected purse for Jake Paul is $40 million, and the expected purse for Mike Tyson is $20 million.
Why is that?
How is that possible?
Respect.
I know Jake Paul is a draw, but the last few fights of his have not been that popular. Everyone's talking about this one. Mike Tyson, to me, that should be a 50-50 split on that money.
I don't know how this works, but I'm honestly wondering how you generate $60 million off of this fight on Netflix, which is a subscription-based thing, and they're not charging for the fight. So, I don't think anyone is signing up for Netflix to watch this fight that doesn't already have it, right?
So how the person
and
so
what
big?
is
Right.
what is the gate going to be? It just seems like, I guess they're going to sell some advertising in it, but how are you generating this much money that you're guaranteeing Jake Paul $40 million for a fight?
But in terms of the disparity in how much they're getting paid, and we all agree Tyson should be getting paid more, well, at least the same. Let's just say that.
I think more.
But it's a Jake Paul production, is it not?
I believe it's his.
So it's his company.
He's got a whole production company, so
Right.
that's probably why he.
So
gets more
he's
money.
taking the bigger. Yeah, he's
probably
as he
paying for
should.
everything,
Right?
You know what I mean? Like where Mike Tyson is just getting paid to show up.
He's getting $20 million with no expenses. You know,
I would think, and this obviously I'm probably going to sound dumb for saying this, but like I would think Jake Paul is probably bringing more eyes to this fight than Mike Tyson.
So I would agree with you, Billy. But for people like me and Greg Cote, we don't want to believe that.
No, I know
we
that.
probably know it, but we don't want to believe it.
By the way, I would also say that Mike Tyson is bringing more eyes to a Jake Paul fight than a Jake Paul fight against someone else would also, if that makes sense.
I agree on both counts.
Like, I think, okay, let me rephrase this. I think if Jake Paul was having a fight and Mike Tyson was having a fight, Jake Paul would outdraw a Mike Tyson fight at this point in time. But I feel like Mike Tyson going to a Jake Paul fight would outdraw any other Jake Paul fight that he could possibly have.
Agreed.
So the two of them together
Yes.
is a perfect match.
Where does Jake Paul go from here? I mean,
he should take a fall, honestly. I know people are saying that Mike Tyson will take a fall. If Jake loses and they make this and it's competitive enough that they make this
trilogy?
Yeah. Oh man, wouldn't that be great?
I'm reading that Jake Paul has predicted that this will get 25 million viewers, which would be by far the most watched boxing match of all time.
But to Billy's point, it's not pay-per-view. Netflix is already something you're paying for.
Yeah, which is why he's predicting so many viewers because so many people already have Netflix.
Right.
By the way, ESPN Plus does it with UFC, right? Where you're just it's like they have their deal with ESPN Plus, and you have to pay for ESPN Plus, but then you have to pay for the UFC fight on top of the ESPN Plus. That's not how this is working with this fight, to my understanding. If you have Netflix, you can watch it.
You turn on Netflix, the fight is there.
Yeah.
So I understand what you're saying, Chris, in terms of telling us the audience and what Jake Paul expects, but no one's paying for it. Because they're already getting it. You just turn on your Netflix. It's there.
And they don't tell you numbers ever. Like with the Brady roast. They don't tell you numbers, but they say, hey, this was the most watched thing ever. You know they're going to do this with this boxing match.
They give you numbers, but they give you 75 billion streamed minutes. And it's hold on a second.
Divided by how many?
Wait, well, that was 6 hours long. 6 hours times 60. What is that, 3,600 minutes, something like that? That's how we get to a billion real quick, right? That Tom Brady roast, way too long. Can we agree on that?
Way too long.
Way too long.
Yes.
You're starting to understand why I guess the Comedy Central ones were done days before and then edited down to an hour because, man, 3.5 hours or whatever that Brady roast was never. I sat down 3 different times to try to finish it. I never finished it.
And Andrew Schultz, who went last, he was funny, but I feel like people were just tired at that point. I feel like his set would have gotten more laughs if it was an hour 2. But it was one of the last ones, so people were just I'm done.
He got a bad draw.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. They were probably going with him as one of the closers, but it was too long.
You want to go third. Yeah. Same thing with this fight. Where there's an undercard. Where do you want to fight on this card? They can't have too many fights because here's the thing about this, right? Is that at the end of the day, it's still boxing. Right? So, if you don't care about boxing, but you like the spectacle, are you going to sit through 2 hours of boxing matches that you don't care about to get to this fight at the end?
Oh, I'm not watching an undercard. I mean,
no, hell no.
I just want to see Tyson for 2 minutes.
Right, exactly. That's me too.
Right.
And I think there's an interesting dynamic to this fight, though, because for a lot of his career, Mike Tyson sort of played the villain. He was the guy that a lot of fans were rooting against. I think it's the opposite now. And largely because of the age difference, I think 80% of America is rooting for Tyson to win, whether or not they have a bet on the fight.
I agree. I mean, I think most people.
No, but I think we're making a mistake with just how popular Jake Paul has become with younger people.
No, yeah, but I just feel even some of those younger people, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just doing my age.
But he's very punchable.
No, but he is very punchable. My daughter wants to watch the fight. She has no idea who Mike Tyson is.
Wow.
She's watching for Jake Paul.
Right.
That's impossible.
She has Billy.
She's never seen The Hangover. She's for sure knows Mike Tyson through pop culture. Maybe not as a fighter.
I asked her, do you know who Mike Tyson is? She said, no, I have no idea. Now, maybe that would jog. So I have no idea, but she's watching it for Jake Paul. That's all I'm saying. Me and Greg, as older people, are probably not giving Jake Paul enough credit and thinking Tyson is the draw here. Tyson is the draw for us, not for everyone else. I don't think.
That's a good point. The idea that your grown daughter would never have heard of Mike Tyson is surprising, but I guess it shouldn't shock me. He is 58, right?
At what age are you grown?
I mean,
I think when you're
18?
away
she's
to
20.
college,
Yeah.
Okay, so
You're
she's
grown.
Yeah,
Okay.
she's grown.
And she's always your little girl.
Yeah, always. Both of them, Emma and Rachel. What's the most wrong you've ever been about something in your career? Because I have a nominee for myself.
Okay, people always bring up my Trade Dan Marino column. So
Oh, that's it, yes.
Yeah, I'll let that speak for itself.
As you should.
Yeah.
For me, it's Dan Campbell. I mock the Lions relentlessly, and it's funny, the Dolphins had him. Like, he could be the Dolphins head coach. At one point, he was the tight ends coach. He was the interim coach in 2015. But when the Lions made him their head coach, I laughed at the Lions. I'm like, there's no way that meathead is going to be able to galvanize a team and lead that team into the playoffs and take an organization like the Lions, who I would say over the last 40 years, much like the Jets, have been the worst organization, not just in the NFL, anywhere in sports. That's how bad the Lions were before Dan Campbell took over. And I said, Dan Campbell is not going to fix this mess. Dan Campbell has fixed this mess. So much so, I wish he was my head coach. I do.
Yeah.
So Dan Campbell, I apologize. I was wrong about you. You're not a bad head coach. You're not a good head coach. You're a great head coach.
The Dolphins have had some funny coaches in that, like, you remember Tony Sperano? And it wasn't even something that he did here, but Tony Sperano did one of the funniest things that I remember a coach doing. So he went to Oakland after he was here, maybe a stop or two later, and he took over as the interim head coach of the Raiders when they fired someone. And he decided to kind of set the tone after he took over to bury a football.
Yeah.
That's coaching.
Very Dan Campbell move, honestly.
It really is.
You're
like him
right,
and Dan, they had both of them in this building. I don't know why we couldn't have had these moments here.
Yeah. Well, I remember Dave Wonstadt when he was here.
The lobster trap.
The lobster trap. The week of a trap game, there would be all these New England lobster traps all over the locker room. It was like, really?
Yeah.
Like grown-ass men playing or like getting inspired
A
by
big part of
lobster
coaching
trap?
is props, I think.
I think a big part of coaching is props. I
Yeah.
agree with you, but I also think it's that guy played the game. And, like, I don't know what I was doing with Dan Campbell when the Lions decided to make him the head coach. He's unlike physically. He is unlike any coach we've ever seen in the NFL. But he does a great job of making those players feel like he's in the game with those players.
I was telling you off air, and I mean this entirely, he looks like a guy you could put him in a uniform, put him in the game for a couple of series at linebacker.
Get you a sack.
And he wouldn't embarrass you. He would look like a player out there. I don't know how old he is. He's probably in his mid-40s.
48.
Yeah.
He looks like, speaking of Mike Tyson, he looks like for a short period he could still fake being a player.
Let's relive Dan Campbell's introductory press conference.
This team's going to be built on, we're going to kick you in the teeth, all right? And when you punch us back, we're going to smile at you. And when you knock us down, we're going to get up. And on the way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off, all right? And we're going to stand up. And then it's going to take 2 more shots to knock us down, all right? And on the way up, we're going to take your other kneecap, and we're going to get up. And then it's going to take 3 shots to get us down. And when we do, we're going to take another hunk out of you. Before long, we're going to be the last one standing, all right? That's going to be the mentality, all right? And we're going to learn that any loss that we take, we're going to make sure we feel the full pain of it and not go numb to it.
Thank you for playing that, because it was after that where I thought there's no way this guy is going to have any sort of success.
Yeah, and the bite you in the kneecap thing.
Yes.
That comes back to haunt you if you prove not to be a good coach. It's like, yeah, how's that biting the kneecap of the opponent working?
Yep.
You know, when you're 3-7.
Yep, but now he looks like a genius.
He does. I mean, a macho man,
Yes.
macho coach.
Yes.
Can I tell you something? I was really happy for him when they came back and they beat the Texans this week, and this is why. And I felt like I saw like an evolution of Dan Campbell in that they came back and their last 2 drives ended with field goals. And I was like, wow. And he looked happy. Like,
he's learning.
Look,
Yes.
we kicked these field goals. We ended up winning this game. The whole story was about Jake Bates, the old the bricklayer that now is a kicker in the NFL. But I saw Dan Campbell, and I'm like, you know what? I feel really good for this guy. Like, all the criticism that he would go for being too aggressive, whatever, he settled for 2 field goals, ends up having a giant comeback win because it was looking early on like the Texans were going to blow them out and somewhat expose them. But no, they came right back in it. did the regular football thing, kicked some field goals, took the points, you escape with a win, 8-1.
He's so right, Billy is. I was thinking that Campbell was just going to be like, no, we're scoring. On this final drive, he played the clock.
Yes.
He just took the field goal. I
Right.
thought he would be like, no, we don't do that around here. We try to score touchdowns.
Wrong coach. That's Nick Sirianni.
The bricklayer also 2 really close kicks to missing. Great story, almost horrible.